How did you get into automotive? What's your early experience with automotive?
Yeah, I started back in 1982. I graduated high school and I went to General Motors Institute. So at 17, I was still 17 when I started working at GM. It was 6 months work, 6 months school to get your diploma.
Wow.
So I started in 82 till 87 to get my bachelor's degree in engineering, and I worked 2.5 of those years at a GM plant in Ohio and Columbus. And I was various jobs as a co-op student, but I started that first time. I was 17 years old and I had 42 union employees, average age 56, reporting to me. I was their supervisor.
Oh man.
That was my introduction to the automotive world.
Good. Nice.
Yeah, so one of the things I learned in my career was how to take complex things and try to make them simple, you know. So requalification, we can do the same thing. We can look at that definition, and really the way we launch a product, we do a process series and an ISIR.
Mhm.
We give the process an approval and we give the product an approval. So it includes all the testing, everything that has to be done for the qualification of the process and the product. We do that at the launch phase. So requalification is really requalifying that supplier is doing the exact same thing that we qualified them to do in the first place.
Mhm.
Is the process the same? Is the product the same? Is it meeting the same specs? Is the system the same? So that's the way I try to look at it is, hey, we've launched these products inside the supplier. Every year we have to go back and recertify, requalify that they're doing the same things that they committed to during the launch. Yeah.
When you're doing a company requalification, what would be your strategy to set up, like, who would you invite to participate, and what would be your, like, okay, we know we have to have recall this year, so it's going to be in October. How would you get ready for that?
Yeah. I mean, from our side, I would invite usually the supply chain specialist from our group, and then the LQS, the logistic quality is usually who we do. So you have logistics representation, the supply chain representation, and the quality all doing it together. So that's typically what I do. Courtesy, hey, we're going to do this on this date. Hope you can make it. You know, they don't have to be there, obviously. It's our responsibility. So, and then from the supplier side, like to target out at least 1 month before, where we set a date.
Mm-hmm.
We say, okay, for this year, the requalification is going to be done here. And then it gives them time to do the checklist because they need to do the checklist before the date comes. And that way, when we go through the checklist on site, they're all prepared. They've already uploaded all their evidence for each question. We're going through the evidence live at the supplier, and then we're filling out our answers right there live during the requalification event. And that way, when you get done with the day or 2 days, whatever it takes to do, you have a fully complete requalification audit done at that point.
So it sounds like the management and the management style and culture are the biggest factors,
yeah,
in the health.
I mean, I've dealt with suppliers, you know, like I said, for 30, 40 years. The leadership's the key, the management. They drive the culture, they drive what happens on the shop floor. And if that leadership's not there, everything else goes awry usually. So when you have a supplier that's struggling badly, mightily, leadership usually needs to change because it's not being led well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's a challenge because good leadership's hard to find also.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
leadership's the key from my standpoint. And I've seen bad suppliers turn very good with leadership change. You know,
that's interesting. Yeah, the same plant, same
everything.
more or less the same personnel, but leadership can make the big difference.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a quality manager, to the management team at your supplier, as far as preparing for requalification, but also as far as what's the best way to make sure that you're ready?
Yeah. Well, what I like to do after we do the checklist, I like to take the second day or the second half of the first day, however it works out, on the floor. And I like to take one part out of each commodity. Like the supplier I'm doing tomorrow has 4 commodities. So we're going to take 4 different parts. We're going to have the control plan and the work instructions. We're going to go step by step through the process, making sure everything on the control plan is being done, everything in the work instructions matches what that person's doing. So it's a simple process audit, but it gives you a great picture of, are they doing what they said they were going to do on the documentation that they committed to during the ISIR, you know? And we'll do that on all 4 of those commodities, and then that'll give me a great snapshot to say this company's doing what they said they were going to do 3 years ago or 5 years ago when we launched. They're making the same product that they committed to. That's why we're having a good result, hopefully, you know, that's the idea behind it. So I really like to take the whole process and follow it through. And that way we're really re-qualifying the process and the product at that point by looking at the whole thing. But you should be the local expert on your part. Technically, process-wise, product-wise, everything should be in your head for that product. I mean, you're the expert here inside BMW for that product. So 1 is know your parts, 2 is know the process. So if you know there's supposed to be these certain checks in the process and they're not doing them, it's a big problem, you know, could cause a failure in the field or whatever. So know your parts and know your process, and it'll go a long way to be a good QMT, I think. So
that's perfect. Yeah, it's really good advice. If you had to leave a legacy for the QMT department, I know you've been in a lot of different departments, but for this department, for passing on to the less experienced QMTs that are coming up and, you know, really digging into their processes, what kind of legacy would you want to leave?
I mean, I don't know whether it's a legacy or not, but I started my career in the QMT world, and I always told my manager in TX5 I wanted to end my career in the QMT world, which it's not the most popular job right now. It's a very difficult job with working with everything we have to work with right now. But the reason that I said that and the reason I did it is because it's one of the most amazing jobs, because you can learn so much in this job. You can learn processes, materials, anything you want to learn, machinery, equipment, maintenance, whatever. You have to know a lot about a lot of things. So the job's challenging, but it's fascinating. And so the legacy would be the excitement of that job, that this is really a job that's amazing because I can learn so much, you know. And you can see it through my career path. I really haven't moved up. It's been more of a plateau, but part of that was enjoying what I did, you know. And even coming back into this crazy post-COVID QMT world that we're in, I've really enjoyed what I've done the last 3 years. It's been hard. My wife's called me crazy several times, but it's an exciting job. It's fascinating, really. Very challenging, but very fascinating. So if people can get that kind of passion for the job, that would be a great legacy to leave.
That's great. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah.